inevitably, isn't that what we do in the spiritual community? When we start cracking open, we're scared, right?
Yeah.
So we always start looking outward for like all the answers, right?
We get all the books, we go to all
spending all the money on the fucking workshops, on the digital courses. Like every single one of us probably has a folder full of fucking digital courses that like we've yet to finish, right?
Yes.
And like that's why we get into those places, because
you're so vulnerable in your opening, you're so vulnerable in your expansion that because we've been kind of taught from our education system that like don't trust yourself, like trust books, trust the experts, like you don't know better.
There's a reason why we need to just start.
It started.
Oh, I didn't realize that we started.
I started.
Okay, good. You know us.
Yes.
I'm like, wait, why aren't we recording? Because we're already riffing.
Hey everyone, I'm Thais Sky. Welcome to Reclaim, a podcast for women by women on conversations that matter. It's like, so our education system doesn't teach us how to navigate our intuition and how to trust ourselves. So then, of course, it makes sense that like when we're in transition or when we're awakening to our spiritual truths, when we're expanding into social justice, I mean, whatever, when we're learning a new school of beliefs and thoughts and things, we immediately go to the experts.
Well, and there's a reason why as coaches, when we go through all of like the marketing training, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you need to position yourself as an expert. What are you an expert in? This is why you're an expert in it. Right? And that then turns into this manipulative tool that we use to like present ourselves as like the all-knowing.
Yes. I mean, I look back at the marketing that I used to write, you know, the ways that I used to promote myself and how I used to promote my work. And there was definitely such an energy of, I've been on TV. Like I know what I'm doing.
Right. Because that's what we're taught. Like if you have this credential, if you've been featured in X magazine or on Y television station or then that, if you're a New York Times bestseller, if you're a bestseller of a book, you know everything. You can help anybody. And in reality, that's so not the case. And we see that all the time because Thais and I actually know a lot of people on the back end of their businesses, right? And look, I've seen lots of walks of life and I've seen tons of quote unquote bestsellers, and I'm like nervous for the people that they that they coach or or consult.
It's just like, and this is something we keep coming back to. It's like there is a huge difference between people doing quality work and people who are well known.
Oh,
there's a difference. There is a huge difference, and one doesn't equal the other. Right. Just because you have a New York Times bestseller doesn't mean that you are this authority figure that knows everything and has your shit together.
And you also have to remember, like, it's one of those things when, I guess, what happens when we're in these vulnerable states.
Yeah.
And when we get really afraid and when we're not really sure what to do, where to go, especially in times of like major transition.
Yes.
Right? It's hard and it's scary to trust yourself.
Yeah.
It is so, so difficult. And those are the places that I think some coaches, some consultants, some XYZ, whatever.
Experts.
will see and take advantage of.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that all of us, even coaches, have to be very attuned to, because most everybody knows your story about you were really taken advantage of by a business coach.
Yes.
And it was horrible.
It was horrible.
And like, it was because you were in this place of vulnerability. I
was so thirsty. I was so, I wanted this result so badly. I wanted to be known. I was doing it all. I had the right intentions, but I was doing it all wrong. Mm-hmm. Right? Because like, I've learned personally that like, I can either be well known, and I can pitch myself to be on television. I've done it before and I was on television. Like I can do it again.
Yeah.
Or I can do really good work.
And I mean, you can do both.
You can do both.
There is potential to do both. We're not saying that you can't. We're also not saying that everybody that's well known is terrible. That's so not what we're saying. We're just saying look out for it.
Yeah.
Be awake, be aware, have your eyes wide open.
And it's so, Lindsay's going through a major transition right now. The biggest of her life, I would say. Would you say that that's fair? Fair assessment? I mean, like maybe one of the biggest.
Yeah,
maybe not the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, right? I'm always like the person that's like, never say never. And like, who knows what's in store for me in the future. But this by far is one of the most challenging, turbulent times of my life it's been an abrupt transition that's literally shaken my whole world, and I'm not ready to fully disclose all the details yet because it's just my own personal way of processing. Like I need to
and it's not just you.
Yeah, I mean there's a sacredness I think to how I process, you know, and like that's different for all of us, right? Some people just always, all of it lays out right from the get-go. They just jump and they just like can talk about anything like openly all the time.
I'm like halfway of that.
Yeah, and I'm just
realizing, more a private person.
Yeah, I'm not that type of person.
But anyway, so like I've been talking transition on the podcast for the past few episodes because I've been in one.
Yeah.
And so it'll be helpful and exciting to have your perspective on some of the things that I've touched on. And we can go deeper into some things because transitions are different for everybody. And I think it's important for us to see the differences, how different people process different things.
Yes.
So that we can see that like you don't have to go through transition in any which way. It doesn't have to look this way just because it looks that way for her.
Absolutely. And which also just like to loop it back in full circle back into everything else that we're always talking about. That's exactly what any type of process for you personally is. That means your business process, the way you do marketing, the way you like tackle your nutrition, the way you tackle your self-care. It all means like it's personal and customized to you and should be. Like that's why all these like blueprints, like, follow this step-by-step, 5-step process that works for everyone. It's such bullshit in so many ways when it comes to...
So I shouldn't tell you that I'm writing a book called The 5 Steps to Transitions. Damn it, that joke didn't come out as funny as it was in my head. It was funnier in my head.
I mean, look, you can totally write a book and be like, hey, these are 5 of the many steps that you could potentially take in transition, right? I mean, that I would be more like open to receiving, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this chick is like shooting me straight. She's like, here's 5 steps. I don't know when they're going to come. I don't know if you're going to fucking take all of them or not, but... these are 5 steps that I've seen a lot of people go through.
Yes.
I'd be like, oh, this she knows what's up.
Well, I feel like with transitions, though, there are 3 kind of major steps.
Of course.
The beginning, the middle, and the end.
Yeah, and like, obviously the duration of those is... who knows?
And I feel like the beginning kind of stage of a transition is really like it can be something happened to you or you finally made the decision that it's time for you to leave this job. It's time for you to move across the country or across the world. Like
2 things we've both done.
Yes.
Leave jobs and move across the country.
Yes. Yep. So I feel like the beginning is like that decision. Like it's time for me to say yes. And it's either the decision or the push into it. Because sometimes it's not our decision fully. And sometimes it's like half and half. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like okay,
you get the call from the universe, quote unquote, but you have to answer the call.
Right. And sometimes it's like one of those like really weird middle grounds where it's like I've thought about this in my head. I've conceptualized it. I knew that it was a possibility. However, I wasn't the one to be like, this is happening.
Yeah.
I didn't throw down the gauntlet.
I feel like that often happens with me. I feel like I'm toying it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then kind of the world
happens,
makes
right?
the decision for me.
It's like, boom!
Yep.
And you don't have a choice.
And then I'm like, okay, well, here I am.
There we go.
So one of the things that I know many people who listen to the podcast kind of have been thinking about and asking me about in terms of my particular transition is finances and money.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
And at the beginning stage.
Aren't you going to sing again?
What?
You normally sing when we talk about money.
Money, money, money. Must be funny. Okay. I don't understand who doesn't have that song playing in their head.
Literally, the first time I ever heard it was when you played it on the podcast. I was like, what are you singing?
That was such a special moment.
That was ridiculous.
That was a special moment.
It was your debut.
I will never forget that special moment in your closet where I played ABBA, Money, Money, Money.
Oh my God, wait. This is the very first podcast we have recorded together, not in my closet.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Yes, we are in my room, which probably isn't optimal sound quality.
So sorry.
But
this is what we're working with.
This is what we got right now.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We'll find a better solution in the future.
I mean, we can use my closet in the future. We just couldn't use it today.
Yes. But anyway. So money. First, there is a podcast episode that Lindsey and I had a whole conversation about money. It was in season
Money,
1.
Money,
Yeah. Money. It's season 1. So go check that out if you are interested to hear even more about Lindsey and Thais's ramblings about money. But I think it's a very valid concern. Like, I want to move across the country. I want to quit my job. I want to go into business for myself. I want to buy a pet. I want whatever the decision is.
Yes.
Money is a consideration, and it should be a consideration.
It should be a consideration.
Yeah,
don't these fucking people that are just telling you take the leap.
Oh yeah. So this is the thing. They say, like, leap and the net will appear. Like, leap and you will be taken care of. Finances will be taken care of. Everything will be taken care of. And
that's not always the case.
I feel like that is so cute.
Yeah.
Like, that is so cute. Please don't do that.
Well, and listen, it does happen for some people. I've heard amazing stories.
But those tend to be the exceptions, not the rule.
Yes, exactly.
And so then we listen to these stories because they're the ones that are public. This is the thing. The people who have these success stories, that have these miracle stories, are the ones that are public about it. So then we start to think that that's the norm. And then when it doesn't happen to us, like me, personally, I can attest to this. Like, it didn't happen to me. I quit my job, moved across the country, was not making money in my business at the time in any way, shape, or form of what I needed to be making. And everyone kept saying, like, leap and a net will appear. Leap and a net will appear. Like, the money will come in. Like, your business will start flourishing. Like, people will see that you're taking a sleep and, like, you will be supported. And I was supported. I was supported by my credit card. I was supported by my boyfriend's parents' loan. I was supported. Don't get me wrong. Very grateful for that support system that I'm still paying off.
Exactly.
It's just we just have to be aware of the risk. If you're willing to go into credit card debt, and if you are willing to get loans and be in that risk, good for you. But some of us maybe aren't in a position where we want to be in that. And so accounting for finances, thinking about finances, being smart with your money. Don't just be so, I don't know. I think, like, it's easier for me to preach about this. Like, don't be reckless, because I've been reckless.
I think most of us can find a time in our life where we have been reckless with money, right? Yeah. Because I think that in and of itself is a transitional phase that we go through when we're learning about money.
Yes.
When we're growing up, when we're getting into adulthood, when we start our first job, whatever it is. You know, we all have our personalized story of a transitional phase where we learn about money, we learn how to be a responsible adult, or we attempt to learn, right?
Yeah. Maybe you weren't educated about credit cards and how they worked, and you weren't taught, the credit limits. I know a lot of people.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't. My first credit card I got when I was 18 years old.
I think you shared this with us. Actually.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably did. You got to go listen to the money one, because I think that's where I shared it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's scary. And circling back to what you said about the success stories that we hear about.
Yes.
And this is everywhere. And this is always something that I really encourage everyone to keep in mind, especially in our kind of personal development, self-help industry world.
Yeah.
I talk about this on my podcast in the episode that I talked about all about my experience of going to Tony Robbins.
Yes. Yeah.
And I said very deliberately on that, I said, look, you're always going to hear about the person that came to this wild experience of Tony Robbins, A Date with Destiny, whatever, like on his documentary, the I'm Not Your Guru thing, that they moved out of their house, they sold all their furniture to get this, $6,000 ticket or whatever, and then they showed up and they came and their life was transformed and now they're millionaire and da-da-da-da-da. What you never hear about are the 70 other people that probably did the exact same thing and are still swimming in fucking debt.
Yeah.
Are in a hole, they're buried, they're depressed, they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel because for them there really isn't any. You don't hear about them.
Yeah.
So always, always, always keep that in mind. No one is ever going to light up the stories that don't market themselves to sell more shit.
Yeah. I guess, we all have to be reckless. We all have to play with expanding our limit on money and seeing how supported we are.
Because it's part of the learning process.
Yeah, and so I feel like I had to go through that process. Oh, look, 11:11. I had to go.
What does that mean? Should we play the lotto? Since we're talking about money? I mean, it always has to mean something, right?
It means something. It means this podcast is holy. Holy. It means that all of you that are listening are blessed. You are blessed by Saint Angel Michael. Saint Michael Angel? Saint what? Who is he? I don't even know who he is.
Are you trying to do Mark? Now I can't even say it. Archangel Michael?
Yes, that's who. That's who I was trying to go for.
You were like Saint Michael Angel? I was like, wait, let me try to decipher Thais right now.
Thais taught. I don't know. You can be reckless or you cannot be reckless. Because, let's talk about the other side of the spectrum where we're so scared of taking risks and so scared of money that we stay stuck at a job that we hate. We don't take any risks at all. And I feel like there's so many of us that are in that place.
Absolutely.
And that's why, we stay in relationships way past their expiration dates because we're terrified of, being on our own or, we're terrified of stepping into our power in some way and declaring what we want to the world and taking action that aligns with that. So there are both ends of the spectrum. And I think there's a middle ground. I think that there is a way that we can navigate through this. And for me personally, I think the way is by always checking in with our wounding and checking in with our pain and our suffering and checking in with the parts of us that are overcompensating by taking leaps because you're you're so scared and feeling like a fraud that you overcompensate by taking a tremendous amount of risk at Thais in the past, right? Or you're on the opposite side where you're so scared and so collapsed and you're so in your little girl that you don't take any action at all. So for me, I'm more curious about what's happening underneath the surface and how we can tend to that. And when we tend to that, the next steps for your transition are going to feel grounded and have a good blend of both risk taking and being smart with money and resources and time and energy.
We talk about this a little bit in one of the You're Waking Up to Your White Privilege Now What episodes. I'm not exactly sure which one.
They all blend together to
me. We talk about literally doing something from the space of a wound.
Yes.
And I think that is such a key, important, fundamental aspect of personal growth and development, right? Yeah. Is learning how to identify our wounds and then learning how to identify when we are operating and taking action from that wound.
Yes.
It's so, so, so vital. And that clarity takes time.
Yes.
And a lot of times that time takes support.
Yeah.
It takes another person coming in and helping you, whether that's a coach, a therapist, a really trusted friend, or a family member.
Yeah.
So again, just to reiterate of the importance of cultivating that ability.
It's 100% the most one of the most critical skills that we can develop because it will change everything.
And it's difficult.
Yes.
It's a difficult skill to develop because we're not usually taught that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So money, I mean, I really, can't tell you how much money you should have in your bank account before you take a risk, or how your finances should look before you take a risk. I mean, talk to your financial advisor. My recommendation is, before you take a leap that's going to substantially impact your finances, first get very clear on how much money you spend a month on what things.
Oh my gosh.
Like budget yourself, not budget, but like list out all of your expenses. I recommend for my clients, because I'm doing a lot of money work with my clients right now, it's a theme, is to write out all of your fixed expenses. Okay, so that's things that you pay that are fixed every single month. Like if you have certain loans, so you pay the same amount every month. Rent, things that are coming out of your bank account, your credit card, your phone bill. Things that are coming out the same amount
rent,
every month.
Your gas bill, your electric, your car payment, your car insurance, your life insurance,
there
whatever those things are.
Make a list of all those fixed expenses. Add that up. Then make a list of all of your variable expenses. That's groceries, gas, things that change.
Dog food.
Yes.
Whatever.
And do your best to estimate that amount. Like, how much you roughly spend per month on gas.
And go back and look at your bank statements. Look at your credit card statements. You will see very quickly. And most credit cards now, at least most of the ones that I have, you can literally go in, and now they have like amazing, wonderful like pie graphs. And they'll show you like, this is how much you spend on restaurants.
God, I don't think I want to know that.
This is how much, and you can see, and let me tell you, it is a very rude awakening.
Yeah. I think the greatest thing that we can do for all of us, whether you're in transition or not, is to be looking at your money.
Oh my gosh, please, for the love of all things holy.
Like, look at your money. Like, so many of us are so scared of money. We've been taught that we can't trust ourselves with money, that we can't, budget, that we're bad with money, that we're irresponsible. And we've been taught all these stories.
Especially females.
Yes.
And femmes. Like,
yes.
we have that in us of like,
men should be taking care of the money.
Passed down generationally. Yes. Like, I grew up with an example of like, my mom's head was always in the sand when it came to our finances, and and we were not well off.
Yeah.
And so, I got such fucked up.
Yeah.
Lessons, because my stepfather was also very showy. So it's like, we didn't have any savings account.
Yeah.
We didn't have any money in the bank, but yet he would pull out like a wad of cash and like pay for a round of drinks at like the local bar for like all the people, right? He was operating from his own money wound.
Right.
But then I carbon copied that.
Yeah.
And so I had to work my way out of that. And let me tell you, I was always really, really engaged with my finances because I had to be.
Yeah.
I had no choice, right? It was just like, that's the way my life was. I was like, oh, if I want certain things and to do certain things, I have to work really hard and I had to manage my money, right? And I will tell you, I've been in some relationships where I see myself patterning my mother. And look, I've been married for a long time. I've been with this same person for over a decade.
Yeah.
And there were years where I was just like, I had kind of like gone through these phases of like being really worried about money in the beginning when we merged everything, right?
Yeah.
And being like, oh, like, yeah, I went and I got groceries, and then I did stop at Bloomingdale's and I got this like blazer, but like I had a coupon and this and that. And like, there was a place where he was like, why do you feel like you have to justify all of this spending? Like, I trust you. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I was able to breathe. But then what happened is I stuck my head in the sand like my mom. Yeah. Because that's what I was like, oh, so this is what you do.
Yes.
And then a few years later, I snapped myself out of it and I was like, this isn't healthy.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't know what's going on with my own finances.
Yeah.
And then I had to really kick it up a notch. And like, that's when I obviously was like starting to transition out of like having a 9-to-5 job and working for myself, which like that kind of was the catalyst for like digging back in. But so many, especially women, go through these.
They do. Yeah, they write off their finances for their partner. Like their partner takes care of all their finances. They do automatic stuff, so money automatically comes out of their accounts, so they don't even have to look.
And automatic stuff is great. However, it does not replace still sitting down every month and looking at it.
You have to be looking at your credit card statement every month. You never know. There's times where I like realize that like someone charged me extra.
Or you're totally paying for like some subscription that you totally forgot about. And you're like, oh my God, when did that hit my account? Holy shit, I've been paying for that for a year?
It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter if you make, minimum wage or if you're making millions. Like being in your money is a critical skill that we can all develop, and we should all develop if we want to feel grounded and knowing in this system. Listen, I know capitalism fucking sucks. I know that it's morally corrupt.
Awful.
I think that Elon Musk and all these billionaires, Jeff Bezos, like I think it's all so bad, so corrupt, so shameful. It's heartbreaking.
It's like
Flint still doesn't have water. It's like it's the worst thing.
How do we navigate it? Because we're stuck in it.
And I'm not saying that like money is a neutral energy. I know a lot of spiritual people teach that like money is a neutral energy, kind of like any other object.
In our economy, I don't necessarily think it is.
I don't think money is neutral, just like guns aren't neutral.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Like we built a gun for a very specific reason, and it's to kill things. We made money at a very specific reason. For power. So like I don't believe it's neutral, and I think saying that it's neutral diminishes.
I think it's a cop-out.
It is a cop-out.
It keeps you from having real conversations about capitalism and power and racism and.
But people, I get it. I get spiritual people want to say that because they don't want to think about how bad money is, and they want to have any sort of excuse to feel good about making money in their business. As spiritual people,
especially as spiritual people, right? Because that is a thing, right? Kind of. If you're spiritual and enlightened and all these things, then you shouldn't have anything. You shouldn't have any materialistic anything, whatever.
So then the wound of that,
right? There's a level of guilt.
Money, yeah, exactly. So and money, shame. Just no energy. It's neutral, right. So you can make as much as you want.
Wipe our hands clean of it.
Yeah,
and like
let's pretend like we don't operate under the system that we're operating under,
and that funnels into us exercising our privilege.
Exactly.
In the spiritual community that is largely whitewashed and white-based.
Yep. So we're not saying any of that. We fully understand the problems and challenges and limitations of money. And while we must feed ourselves and while we are operating in this system, let's at least not be victims to the system in the sense of like not even recognizing, knowing what money is coming in and going out.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying budget. I know people have like opinions about whether or not to budget. I don't know.
Look,
it really depends on the person.
Great.
For me, budgeting is just like depriving myself with food. Like it doesn't work. I get anxious and then I overspend, just like I binge. Like I can't do that for me.
So it's different for everyone. Like with me, it makes me feel safer.
Yeah. When
I have an estimated budget. Like I won't go down to the penny, but if I don't know, I don't feel safe.
Right.
So right here, you have two very different examples, opposite ends of the spectrum in some ways, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really good place for you all to even see, like, wow, like Lindsey and Thais operate totally differently on this.
Yeah.
Because they're different individuals, because we have our own wounding.
So you gotta find a way that feels good for you. But when you're entering transition, here's also what to know. When you're entering any transition, things are gonna be much more than you think they are.
Oh, yeah. Overestimate everything.
Because everything's gonna be much more, like, expect late fees, expect that you're gonna drop things, especially the bigger the transition. Like, even the most organized person, like, there's just so many moving parts. If you have children, so much to navigate.
So this is like a very small example, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this about you, but when...
Oh, it's about me.
Yeah. When Thais was just going through a very big transition in her life, which I know she's been talking about, we were wrapping up, like a couple end of the weeks of our last quarter, and we had both rented this textbook, and she literally was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I totally forgot to send my fucking textbook back, and she got charged. Like, it was $30, but $30 in a huge transitional time in your life, that's like 2 meals. That's like 2 salads of grab and go place when like you're moving and like your kitchen isn't unpacked.
Well, but I didn't even have a place to live, so like I was
like, you didn't have an address,
right? So I was operating out of my car, really, and like trying to. So I was like in San Luis Obispo. Okay, I didn't tell you the story, but like I was in San Luis Obispo.
Just to make things clear, Thais was not living out of her car.
No, I was not living.
She had places to stay and live. She just didn't have a permanent address yet because she was in transition.
Yes,
I just wanted to clarify.
Let's not glorify my my nomadic experience to like car living,
right,
or maybe under glorify. However, the projection is for people. So I was in San Luis Obispo. I was house sitting for a friend who was traveling, and she was very generous to let me stay at her place. I had this book in my trunk of my car, and I'm like, okay, I need to find a post office to drop off the fucking book. So I was driving around, found a post office. It was closed. So I was like, okay, what do I do? Like, I have the envelope. I have the book. All I need is like tape and stamp. Tape and stamp. That's all I need. So I like walked into a vape store that was next door to the post office.
You're like, do you have tape?
Do you have tape? This like young buck, this young dude was like, oh my God. I realized later as I was leaving, my zipper was down. So the entire time.
You're like, hey, you got any tape?
So we first started with like white tape, like the clear tape, didn't stick. Then we tried staples, didn't stick. Finally, he whips out fucking duct tape.
Oh my God.
Duct tape the shit out of this envelope. I walk out. I'm very happy with myself. I like go to like the CVS, get stamps. Now it's an envelope. I don't know how much stamps it needs.
Probably like 100.
So I just put 100. Like a bajillion forever stamps on there. I was like, I don't know how even money.
Because it's a book.
And also, like, how much are forever stamps now? I don't even know how much they are.
Well, I think
like a stamp.
Stamps are like 45 cents or 46 cents or something. But like forever stamps, it like doesn't matter how much they change.
It's just very confusing.
Always going to be forever.
But anyway, so like I just stuck a whole thing of it. And I shipped it in. It got there.
Did it get there?
It got there. It succeeded, and it's.
They probably, the postman took one look at that sorry envelope and was like,
with duct tape.
They're like,
staples coming out.
Clearly, this person's in transition. We're gonna give them a break here. We're just gonna send it through.
Oh my gosh, that's how I spent like 3 hours of my life.
So, but that's such a perfect example of the little things that creep up and like are so unexpected during turbulent times in our life. Yeah. And that's small in comparison to what could happen.
Yes.
Like, and you have to remember like your emotional state and things like that. Like,
but that's I think what's the thing. It's the emotional state makes everything that you're doing 10 times harder. You know, like, I almost broke into tears over this fucking book. Driving around a town I didn't know, like, feeling so isolated. You know, it's like everything takes so much more emotional capacity than normal.
It magnifies the, like, little kernel of, like, what it could be into, like, this huge thing because, you know, it's a lot going on.
And there's so many times where I got so resentful of the situation and so resentful of the breakup, like so resentful of him, so angry. And, you know, I had Chewy with me, which just added to the
stress and responsibility.
So it was a lot. It was a lot. But like, you know, you just have to keep remembering and grounding into who you are. ground. Like, spend as much time in nature as possible. Really, lean on your support system. Talk about what you're experiencing. Like, don't do it alone. Those are, like, been so crucial for me, is to have people that I can talk about, that I can just vent, that I can just share, that will just listen to me. I'm not expecting them to solve my problems. I'm not expecting them to take over. I'm not expecting anything from them, but just let me just talk about this. Let me get this off my chest. Let me feel like I'm not the only one going through this. Let me be
seen.
Yeah.
Let me be validated in my experience,
Yeah.
Which I think is really an important thing that it's a beautiful gift that we can give to our friends and loved ones that are going through transition. And when you give that gift, it's a wonderful thing to be able to hold a container for a person that you care about when they're going through a difficult time. It's so, it's nourishing in a very different kind of way when you can put your own pain down long enough to hold someone else's with them. Yeah. It's a very beautiful bonding experience, And that's, that's a gift that we all have the ability to give, hopefully, although it's not necessarily easy and it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. Yeah. Some people literally cannot see past their own pain. Yeah. And that's why we have so many of the bigger issues that we have on this planet. Yeah. So, but for all of you who are listening, like, I know you have the ability to cultivate that. And if you can do that, I just think it's one of the most rewarding, amazing, wonderful opportunities of the human experience. Yeah. I really do. Yeah. I believe that. And I think you grow, your experience grows because you're able to open up and have more empathy and compassion for other people's stuff. Yeah. And at the end of the day, isn't that what we really all need more of? Mm-hmm. To be able to connect with others and really see them and see their experience, because it's so easy for us to look at somebody and be like, okay, so she's going through this really hard transition, but you know what? She's got money, so she'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Wow. Talk about just removing somebody's fucking humanity. Yeah. Like, what do you mean? Like, that takes away all her emotional pain, all of her lived experience.
Well, but we do this all the time.
All the time.
We say things like, it could be worse.
Oh,
right? Like, it could be so much worse.
Yeah, we know.
Like, you know what I grew up in my very white household, it's like, well, there's starving people in Africa.
Totally.
What? Okay. Who started this?
Okay. White person.
No, I need to know, like, the person,
some white dude,
who started this whole trend of the starving children in Africa.
Hello, it was some starving white dude who had, like, his kids, and he was like, well, there's starving little kids in Africa. You should be grateful.
And, like,
that's
finish
exactly
your plate.
What happened.
And then also, how do we connect the starving children in Africa with this is why I need to finish my plate?
Oh my God, it's just so fucked up.
It is so fucked up.
Convoluted.
Like, why am I being forced to eat beyond my capacity, my desire, my body's trust that's telling me, like, I'm full?
And of course, it's got to be a starving kid in Africa, right? So obviously, systemic racism right there.
Of course, it's systemic.
Of course, you couldn't say, well, there's starving white kids in the trailer park just around the corner.
There's a Lindsey over there.
Literally. Like,
well, right.
Why is that not the like language?
I know why. It's because
we know why. This is a rhetorical question.
But it's clearly, also, we know why. Makes sense that, like, the more that we can instill the sense that people in Africa are poor and starving and savages and need safe, then we get to feel better as, like, white saviorism. We're going to give money to people there and we're going to help them out, Anyway.
But yes, here's the thing. And as a minimizer.
Yes, I'm an expert minimizer.
I'm an expert minimizer, right? Because it's actually a coping skill that has literally gotten me through most of my life, because from a very young child, I started saying, oh, it could be worse, it could be worse, it could be worse. It was helpful. it was helpful in certain things and times. It is never helpful for somebody that you love and care about, or a complete stranger, to be honest, for them to be sitting across from you or whatever in tears, sharing their lived experience to you, and you say it could be worse.
Yeah.
That is never fucking helpful.
Well, the way I think of it, because I have a client who I've been working with who has the most amazing minimizing skills.
Ooh.
I mean, just...
Should we be friends?
Olympic status minimizing skills here.
Clearly, I need to be friends with her.
Clearly.
Besties.
So I was, talking to her. I was like, when you were little, you were given this 100-pound book bag. Okay, of like the trauma, the experience that you had, and that you didn't know how to handle. So you had to minimize it. You had to make it feel like it was 5 pounds because you were little and you didn't know how to handle this 100-pound book bag.
Absolutely.
So you minimize the pain to it's only 5 pounds. And then you've been carrying it and you've gotten adjusted to it. And now you still feel good about your 5-pound book bag. The problem is...
But your back is broken.
Exactly. The problem is it's actually 100 fucking pounds. And you become so used to carrying this 100 that you don't even see how much of your life has been contorted to be able to hold this 100-pound thing that you could now drop. But before we can even get to the quote unquote just dropping the 100 pounds, because it's never that simple, first we have to name that it's 100 pounds from the place of now that you're an adult. We can rally your adult resources and recognize that it's 100 pounds because now you know how to bear that weight. And the irony, the beauty is once we can, with our adult resources, name that this is a 100-pound book bag, it starts to feel like a 5-pound book bag. I just got chills from that. Right? So I know, I got chills off my own thing. I'm just so brilliant. Just so brilliant.
Oh my God.
Just so brilliant. Then it becomes a 5-pound book bag, because we no longer need to be carrying that weight. And then eventually we can just drop the book bag.
It's part of the healing.
It's all a beautiful process. But so we're not taking away minimizing is what I'm saying. Like we needed it. We needed that tool. But now it's time for us to really look at how we're using this coping mechanism to minimize people's experiences. We cannot speak to how somebody is going to navigate transition and change. And we need to give them that gift of honoring however way they go through it and however way we go through it. Talk about what I have been constantly reminded by both you and our mutual friend Danielle constantly throughout this whole transition is it's allowed to look the way it looks.
Oh my gosh.
It's allowed to look the way it looks. It does. It's
so
allowed to look the way it looks.
So many times. This is what literally fell out of Thais's mouth. I mean, I know, I should be doing this, or I should be grieving more over here or something, but I feel okay, and I'm blah, 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 or I know I should be happy, but I can't stop crying, and da, da, da. And over and over again, just looking at her and being I'm sorry, why?
Yeah, why do you think it should look?
Think it should look like this or that?
And the spiritual ego is all you should be meditating every day. You should be using this transition as a holy experience of grief.
Okay, I got news for you. I'm gonna be real. I have been going
Wait,
through...
have you not been real any of this whole time? Now you gotta be real.
I'm always pretty real, but I like to preface, when I'm really gonna get down...
When you're really getting
When I'm really gonna call myself out. That's what I like to just preface.
Let's hear it.
So I have been now in a shitstorm of my life for the past 3 weeks.
That's it? That's all it's been?
Well...
It feels like a lifetime, and I'm just observing it.
I know. But really in the throes of the shitstorm for 3 weeks. I have been able to meditate twice in the last 3 weeks.
So
literally.
Unspiritual. How can you even say that to the world?
And you know what? I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I literally don't care. I'm putting one foot in front of the other, and I'm getting through one of the most turbulent transitions I've ever had to get through.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the best I fucking can.
Yeah.
Every single day. And if I need a moment to breathe and meditate, and I think that I can, I'll give it to myself.
Yeah.
But sometimes I literally fucking can't.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It doesn't mean I've fallen off the spiritual bandwagon or whatever, or like I'm not a spiritual human anymore or whatever. It doesn't mean anything. I actually don't feel any more disconnected from my spirituality.
Yeah.
Than when I'm
I actually
meditating
feel
every
like
day.
transitions are the most spiritual practice because you're being asked every day to lean into the unknown.
In our humanity.
And to
Literally.
lean into the unknown. Yeah. So be with our
yeah.
humanity and be with the fact that like we don't know what tomorrow looks like.
Like that, there is an infinite mystery of being human. And I think you're right. When transition gets ripped open and you have no choice but to just go through it, you face that mystery head on.
Yeah.
And that I think builds the muscle so that when I'm through this and however long it takes on the other side, I bet I'll be able to sit more deeply in my meditation.
Yeah. Life itself is a spiritual practice.
Yeah.
If we let it.
Absolutely.
Like, I think a lot of times we compartmentalize.
Fuck, not even if we let it. It's gonna be.
Yeah.
Right? No matter what.
So we can look at it as it is. You know?
Absolutely.
I think, okay, so we talked about the beginning of transitions. Now we've been talking about the middle. I do want to talk a little bit about the end of the transition.
I can't talk about the end yet because I don't know.
I know you're not there yet. Not even close. I'm there. Like, I finally...
Do you feel like you're there? In some ways, right?
Like, I'm in the ending phase.
Okay.
But I'm not ended.
Because I
Like, it's
feel,
a phase, the ending phase.
And like with anything, right? With any kind of transition or phase or process.
Yeah.
Intellectually, we get there first.
Yes.
But
that's what I'm saying.
Right? But emotionally...
Right. This is what I'm talking about. I'm glad that we're on the same page. So, like, I'm on the ending phase where, like, I'm settled in my new apartment. I'm back to the groove of, like, school starting for us this week. Like, I'm starting to, like, go back really hard into my business and, like, feeling really into, like, my work.
So, mentally and physically, you're more grounded in this finishing ending.
But what's so hard about the ending, the final stage, is that emotionally we are so not there. Like emotionally, I'm still at like the beginning middle.
Right.
You know? So like emotionally, like I find like I'm like, why aren't I like focused on work? Like why can't I
How can you be?
Why isn't my body active and I'm ready to go? And it's like, because I'm emotionally exhausted. Because I'm burnt out, because my resources, my inner capacity is like down to zero from this whole experience. And I think that that's what makes endings so hard, and that's where we really can hurt ourselves,
because you're like, oh my god, all these things have fallen into place. Like physically I'm fine, you know, mentally like I'm here and all my ducks are in a row. So why the fuck do I still feel like I'm gonna fucking like roll over and like cry every second? Or like, why do I feel like my world is still crumbling even though I know it's not?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
What's wrong with me?
Exactly. That's it. That's the hardest part about the ending phase, is that we think that there's something wrong with us because we're like, why is this still a challenge? And it's because it takes time for our emotional body to catch up. It takes time to process experiences. Our mind, I know, is so fast and quick and it's moved on, it's ready to go, but like that's not how we actually operate as humans. It really takes time for us to integrate and bring everything in. And so we have to be, even at the end, be giving ourselves a lot of space and tenderness, knowing that we're going to be wanting to move forward. We're going to be wanting, because we don't want to be in the emotional pain, right? So we're going to use however tools we have, like our rational brain, to try to tell us, like, don't feel. Like, focus on anything else. Don't feel. But this is the time when we need to be feeling.
Emotions will chase you.
This is the most important time, because this is when integration happens.
You can't run from them forever.
You know, I try.
We all do. We all do.
I think I've gotten good at it. And then I'm like, oh, wait.
What, good at running from
Yeah, like sometimes I'm like, oh, I think I've gotten really good
You're
at
like,
it.
oh, look at me go. Hey.
I'm really good. And then, like, it just catches up to you when you least expect it.
It's like the one common denominator that we all have as humans, right?
Yeah.
It's like the one link that really connects us is like physically and intellectually will always process faster than emotionally.
Yes.
It's just kind of like
it
the
just
way we've
takes
been taught.
time. So, giving yourself the space to really give yourself time to process everything that's going on is important.
So important. And trust me, it will be the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, yeah.
If you give it to yourself and if you give it to your loved ones and your friends and even strangers, this is kind of where I feel like that whole thing, like comes into play where it's like, sometimes like, let's say you have like a server or like a barista or something that's kind of like, short or whatever. And you're like in line and you're like, God, why is she being such a bitch or something or whatever? Or like, why is she got to be such an asshole? I feel like that's kind of like the time where you're like, you know what? Emotionally, maybe they're still transitioning.
Yeah.
Maybe I can just brush it off, not take it so personally.
Maybe.
Now, for the white fucking supremacists that are out there acting like fucking assholes, no, never.
Never forgiving you.
I don't give a shit what kind of transition you're going through.
Or all the misogynists out there who wants Kavanaugh to be... we're not even going to talk about it. So... I realized I never introduced Lindsey Rae. So this is Lindsey Rae.
Lindsey Rae.
She's a dear friend and a recurring guest on the podcast. And we have conversations like this daily. So sometimes we like to hit the record button and record it all for you all.
Yeah. If you haven't listened to our series on white privilege,
I highly recommend it.
Do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've had some good conversations, me and you. I mean, all the conversations with all of Thais's guests are amazing and wonderful. And we have some really good ones. We talk about spiritual bypassing. We talk about money.
Yeah.
We talk about... What are some of the other ones? I mean, we talk a lot about white privilege.
Yeah.
I feel like there's like...
We talk about the coaching industry.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a lot of conversations.
We have good conversations.
We do. Which is such a gift to have you on. So thank you for swinging by, making space to share your insights.
I know. Usually I feel like the ones that I'm on are much longer, but today I'm like in a time crunch.
I know. It's okay though.
Not for nothing, but when I got here, when I was supposed to be, Thais was in the shower.
I was in the shower. I was like, who the fuck keeps calling me?
I was like calling because I'm trying to like, where am I supposed to park? Because like Thais is in a new place and like I'm like outside her building and like there's no street parking and without a permit. So I'm like waiting outside the garage and I'm
I'm jamming out to music, and showering,
like, calling. I'm like, why isn't she answering?
I'm like, why does my phone keep ringing? Who the fuck is calling me?
I'm like, hello, I'm on a time schedule here.
So like, I actually picked up the phone while I was in the shower.
I know. I was like, what are you doing? She was like, I'm in the shower. I'm like, it's 10:30.
Well, we made it work.
We made it work. Yeah, but I have to cut it short.
Yeah.
Because I got to go.
We'll be okay. We'll have you on. We still have...
Because I'm in transition.
We still have part 5 to record of you waking up to your white privilege now what, and that one's going to be a really, really good one.
That one's going to be good, yeah.
It's going to be on apologies.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you next week.
Love you, bye.